welcome to another video in the Cre8tive Cre8tions Clearstamps inspirational series. If you haven't watched the first part yet, I will link that down there in the info box for you. I just released, or I'm just about to release, they're open for pre-order now. If you're watching this later, obviously they are not pre-order anymore, but anyways, you can order them on my website, in my shop, if you like them, if you like the whimsical illustrations, if you want to work with the clear stamps. And yeah, I will just share a little series of inspirational videos giving you ideas on how to use the stamps in art journaling, in happy mail, pocket letters, mixed media projects, on cards, in planners, so whatever you can think of. So this is the next video in this series, so hope you will enjoy it, guys. Hello and welcome everybody to another video in this series. Today we're going to create this cute art journal page together, featuring the Art Party clear stamp set with this cute little whimsical artist girl holding a brush, color your world, and this little wooden art doll. I'm not even sure what they're called, like those yeah, wooden art dolls, I don't know. Anyways, there's some paint tubes and lots of collage and color and texture in the background. Yeah, so this one was really fun to create. I enjoyed it a lot, and I hope you will enjoy this video as well. I hope you will enjoy watching me create this. It will inspire you to create your own art journal page, or maybe another project using this cute little art girl here. Again, please share your work with me if you like, if you create something inspired by this or something featuring my products. As always, I would love to see it. So I think we will get started right away. Hope you will enjoy this video. So let's get started. I'm working in my handmade artsy Dory traveler's notebook here. I'm gonna work in this second book here, which has like some really nice sturdy pages, which are great for art journaling. And just for using it, I'm going to take it out of the Dory cover here, and then I'm just gonna open up that page that I'm gonna work on, like that. And I will just start by using 2 book pages. I'm gonna glue some scraps of the book pages down onto the pages into the journal, just for our first base layer here. So now that I have this layer down, I'm going to use some white acrylic paint. I'm just going to apply it to some random spots here. I'm also gonna blob in a little bit of a colored acrylic paint, and for that I will first kind of decide on the color combination that I want to go, or the direction that I want to go into with coloring my stamped images here. But again, I kind of want it super colorful, like a little artist with a paint palette and stuff, so I think just really colorful, so not like going into just one direction with the colors, but I might add a tiny bit of a light blue here. And I think this coral blush would be kind of a cool color to go with this blue, this light blue. once this is dry, I have some pattern paper here. Just some collage paper. So you could just use like pattern paper for scrapbooking or decorative paper napkins, printed tissue paper, gift wrap paper, whatever you have on hand, with a nice design on it. I'm just going to tear some pieces out of this. I'm going to use it on the page as well. And I know I'm covering like parts of the background with this, but again, keep mentioning that in all of my art journal videos. I kind of really like to just layer things without thinking too far ahead. So actually when I'm putting down the first layer, I'm not thinking or planning the steps ahead, the next layers that I want to put down. So it's part of the process that some of the underneath layers might end up getting like covered up completely, and I absolutely don't mind, because for me that's part of the fun of art journaling, that you don't have to pre-plan things. Okay, you can just go in, have some fun without thinking too far ahead and without planning too far ahead. Because whenever I do like paintings or watercolor work, I always kind of have to plan ahead with the colors that I want to go with and where to put the lights and the darks and stuff. So it's a lot of brain work, do you see that? And when it comes to watercolors and painting, even though I try to keep it as intuitive as possible, but up to a certain point you have to think ahead. So that's why in art journaling I really enjoy working like completely free, without any planning. I basically just have a rough idea in my head. Like for example here I want to work with the Art Party clear stamps. So I basically know the direction I want to go into, but that's it. That's it. I have no finished layout, no finished design in mind here. Absolutely not. So that's why in the end some of the underneath layers might get completely covered up, and some people think it's like a waste of supplies. And it maybe is, but actually I don't care, because it's just way too much fun playing without pre-planning or worrying about wasting supplies that might get covered up in the end. So yeah, just thought I would mention that ahead of time. Because this is one of the most common like not questions but comments that kind of appear underneath the videos whenever I do art journaling. Why I put down the first layer, because in the end you can't see it anymore. But for me that's like totally fine. Like for example now I see with the pen and paper I'm going into a different color direction here, a little more pinkish greenish, so I will add a little bit of this color into the background design a little more. Again, like it's like an intuitive process for me. So yes. So I might grab like a little bit of green here, for example, now, just to bring that in, and I definitely want to bring some white back into the game. Oh, I should have shaken that bottle, because this is like not what I want on my page. Yeah, that looks much better. So, just going to use a paper towel to dab a little bit of this onto the page here, for a little bit of a different like texture. And next I definitely want a whole lot more white back on the page, So I'm using this stencil here and some white acrylic paint and just a crumbled up paper towel like this, okay? And then I'm just going to use a little bit of a pink watercolor here, pink liquid watercolor. That's kind of matchy for those flowers here in the background. And I'm gonna just drop some of it onto the page. And what I will do next is I will just ever so lightly just flip that page over. To have the colors kind of have the pages ever so lightly kiss, okay? And reopening it just like that, so you have it kind of spread out a little, but it just looks different or spread out in a different way compared to using a brush, definitely, okay? So I'm gonna do the exact same thing with some black watercolor. Just a little bit, not too much, just for the first layer of contrast here. Make sure you don't add like too much color, because you don't want like one of those images you I'm not even sure what they are called. Like if you apply a large blob of color here in the center and press it, then you get one of those strange images that psychiatric doctors like show you, and they ask you what you see. You might know that. I see that in movies that they show you, and if you see like a butterfly or an elephant or whatever. So if you add lots of color here in the center and press the pages together, you will end up with something like that. And that's not what I wanted to end up with, so just make sure you add some like tiny blobs here and there. Okay, so I like it so far. I'm gonna dry this real quick again. Okay, then I have a piece of like corrugated cardstock here, which kind of already has this turquoise color on there. So I'm just gonna go with it and use this right away. Like this. I just kind of want to use this as a base for the little artist girl here later on the page. So I'm gonna glue that in place already. Whenever I'm working in my journals, I'm making sure that I don't go like too heavy and too thick and too dimensional, because you still want to be able to like close the journal, so you keep that in mind. But corrugated cardstock for me is kind of a good choice for working in art journals, because it adds lots of thickness and texture, yet it's like thin enough and lightweight enough to use inside of a journal. So I really love that. So I'm gonna just add a tiny bit of the white acrylic paint here. As well, like this. Alrighty, so I'm gonna let this dry, and while this dries, I'm gonna get started with my stamped images here, and I'm gonna use the little artist girl down here. I think I'll just cut that out first and then color it in. So just like don't completely cut it out, but just cut it out like this and then color it in, because you can handle this better this way. So where are my watercolors? There you go. So I have my Winsor & Newton watercolor, no, not Winsor & Newton, this is the Daniel Smith watercolor palette here that I think I'm going to work with, and I'm also going to use the, if I can find it, oh my gosh, my table is a mess. I already managed to go from clean to messy in no time. The Prima Decadent Pie set, because this holds one of my favorite skin colors that I like to use for coloring the girls' faces. So let's get started. I have my aqua brush here. I need a paper towel. I'm just gonna do some basic coloring here. So like a whole lot of shading, just a little bit of a basic coloring in the face with a Prima watercolor. Again, this is like such a pretty peachy tone, so it's perfect for like Caucasian skin colors without a lot of mixing. Just blending this a little. So whenever I'm working on a small scale or a smaller scale like this, I tend to do not a lot of shading with different colors, layering them on top of each other, because this can easily like overpower a small image like this. But I do a lot of the shading just within one color, like here for example. As you can see, I just used this one color, but by blending it and lifting some of it back off and pushing it back into the darker areas, it gives me an instant like shading effect, even though I only worked with one color so far for the face and the skin. So let's see what just grab my Artjournal page just to see what color I want to go for with the hair. Or maybe a pink, yeah. It's not a big of a surprise, I guess. But the pink is kind of a color which is also in the background, so color is very handy for me in this case. So like a pinkish tone. Starting light, as always, with watercolors, and then going darker as I progress with the layering. Because remember, with watercolors you can always go darker, but it's hard to actually get lighter. So always start out light and then go darker. And this kind of bleed a little into the face, so I will just already use this for a little bit of a rosy cheek effect here, which I would have done anyway, so I can use that right away. Just blending that in to give it a little bit of some rosy cheeks. Same on the opposite side. Before you blend, make sure you always clean your brush on a paper towel and then go back in, because you don't want to like spread out the color, but you really want to blend from just water in the brush towards the colored area, okay? So, this looks pretty cute already. Gonna add a little bit of this pink to her cute little nose and to the lips. So kind of sticking to a very basic color scheme here, working with repetition of color instead of like bringing in too many colors. Also using a little bit of the red here for the shadow areas. Like that. And also a little bit up here where the hair's casting a shadow. And whenever you're blending, make sure the tip of your brush is always pointing towards the darker area, the area you want to kind of push the color back into, okay? So, alrighty, let's take a look. Okay, I'm going a little darker with the hair, since this is dry. I'm just starting from up here, bringing in the darker shade, cleaning my brush, and then slightly blending it into the lighter area. Again, not doing like too much of shading here. Usually I would work with more steps and more lighter glazes, but in this case, and due to the smaller size, like 2 to 3 steps for the shading is more than enough. You can always use like your paper towel to dab a little bit of the color back off to lighten some areas a little more. Same over here. And you can keep those lines like as solid, or blend them as much as you like. It always depends on the look that you prefer, the look that you want to go for. But for me, in this case, it's good enough. Like that. So adding a little bit of a black, using the Payne's Gray for her head here, for a little artist head. And again, I just use one color, mixing it differently with water, a little more with water, a little more of the solid color, and this already gives me some instant shading here without even working with different colors actually. Okay, I like it. So a little brownish color for the brush she's holding. And for the bristles, and while I'm at it, I'm also going to use this gold from the Prima set for the little wooden art body here. Just like that. And using this gold for the palette she's holding as well. So kind of first putting down the base color here. For the shirt, I think I will use some light blue, kind of matching this light blue here in the background. So next I'm just gonna dab in some colors here to the palette. And just see, I missed that spot here with the blue from the shirt peeking through like that. So for the palette, let's maybe like add some orange, some red here, so just some more or less basic colors. I'm also gonna color in those paint tubes. Maybe some yellow. Like that. So next, going a little darker with a shirt. Doing just a tiny bit of shading here. And this layering by adding in a second color or a second shade, this kind of always helps to add depth and dimension. Brings the colors to life. So with watercolors, this like glazing technique is always a good way to go. So using a little bit of the Amethyst Genuine Purple now for a little bit of additional darkness here in the hair. Again, not doing lots of shading here because of the small size. Just a tiny bit of purple, blocking it in for, again, for some depth in the hair. Because at least use like two colors, layering, glazing them to kind of recreate a little bit of depth. Usually with just one color, it kind of always looks like colored in. And with layering different colors or different shades of a color, it starts to look, or to go from just colored in to end up with a little bit of a more and more artsy look. I hope that makes sense. Also going to use that purple a little bit in the head here, in the Payne's gray. Dark blue and purple is always a great color to add to really dark shadow or dark black If you don't want to go for real dark black, again makes it come to life. Might end up using a little bit of this purple here in the shadows. I'm actually already doing like more shading than I wanted to. Just because this is, I just love this step of the process. Like adding the shadows and the highlights and the midtones. Because this step really makes your art, the illustrations come to life. It makes them go from just colored in to come to life. Hope that makes sense. But I guess it does. But as you can see, with those stamps, even on a small scale, you can do a lot with the coloring. You can do a lot with the shading, so it's not too small. Just need to go with a smaller brush tip size, and you might need to get a little bit used to working on a small scale, but other than that, it's totally like doable. And nothing different than working on a larger scale, actually. It's just important that you stamp your images on a good quality paper, because you don't want the paper to give up on you and on the water and the color after the second layer. That would be a pity, and we don't want that. So good paper is always key here. Okay, let's take a look, and I think I'm about to call this done. Still need to add some color to her eyes. Totally missed the eyes. How did that happen? Okay, so calling her done. Just gonna add a little more shading to that wooden body here. And also to the paint tubes. Just very roughly blocking in a little bit of paint spray down here. Instant shading without a lot of fuss. Right, so, yep, calling it done. Just gonna add some highlights with my white paint marker real quick. So I'm using my white Sharpie paint marker here for some quick catch lights in the eyes. Perfect, like it. And I'm just gonna let this dry real quick and then we can add that to our journal page. First cut it out and then add it to the page. Okay, so I did cut this out. Those cute little paint tubes here and the wooden art doll and the cute little painter. Artist, and I think I will just need or want a tiny bit more of the book texture back in game here. Not much, just a little, because this is one of the things that I mentioned. Got lost in the background, which usually I don't mind, but in this case I definitely want a little bit of the texture back in, so adding some of it here to the top layer. Yeah, so first thing first, I'm gonna add the little art girl here to the corrugated cardboard, just using some of the gel medium as a glue, putting it down as a focal point. And then I'm using a tiny bit of the turquoise blue watercolor that I already used in the girl. Adding it here to that, to kind of ink the edges ink the edges of this. Oh, it's an art party saying word like that, just to kind of bring the color back into the game here. I'm just adding a little more gel medium because of the corrugated cardstock or cardboard in the background to make it stick. Normally you wouldn't need that much, of course. And I think I just want this like really clustered here, around here, and have the rest like just as background design, because if I would spread that out on the background it kind of wouldn't look as good, for me at least. So I'm just kind of grouping this or clustering this together down here. Prefer this. I might add those 3 up there. So they kind of form like how do you say that? Oh, that's way too much glue. They kind of lead the eye from up there down to the focal point, to the focal element. Like this. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Okay, cute, love it. So, definitely want some more black paint splatters and some gold paint splatters. So that's what I'm gonna do next. So I made up my mind. I wanted to add some accents with the gold crackle paint as a finishing touch. So before I do that, I will just add some more white paint splatters with a white Ecoline watercolor. And as a last step, using the gold crackle medium here and a palette knife and this cute polka dot stencil. Just again for some repetition of the design. And something smaller, a little smaller, oopsie, over here, just a tiny bit. Those very fine stencils, they're always like pretty tricky, because a lot of the paste and the color will kind of bleed through or bleed underneath, but that's fine with me. Just know that, as you can see, but it still kind of has a little bit of this texture. And just a tiny bit down there in that corner. Like this. Okay. This will take a while to dry and for the crackles to appear in the texture paste, crackle paste areas. Yeah, but then other than that, I'm calling it done. Cute little playful, whimsical Artjournal page featuring the Art Party Clear Stamp set. Again, if you like the designs, if you like this cute little artist here, then yeah, check out my blog, my shop, if you are interested in the stamp set maybe. Other than that, hope you enjoyed this tutorial, hope you like the result, guys, and yeah, see you all again soon. So I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you liked the result. And see you again soon with the next project featuring my Cre8tive Cre8tion stamps.